What's going on, guys? Welcome to TK's Garage 405. So, took a trip with this thing, a pretty good trip. As soon as I got back, I had to run to Florida here. So, I am actually still in Florida here. I looked in my mirror, started seeing smoke. So, let's take a look at what's going on here. All right, so I was looking in my mirror and I noticed that it was smoking, so I pulled over to the rest area. I'm glad I did here. Not exactly sure what's going on, but let's try to decipher this. Well, that would be transmission fluid, and I don't have any with me. Not sure where that's coming from. Let's take a better look here, man. It just never ends here for me. I don't remember it smoking before. Why is it smoking now? It's a good thing I caught that before I cooked the transmission. Oh boy. Let's take a look here, guys. Oh, there you see. Just gushing out here. Not sure what's actually leaking though. That's bad though. Really bad. Oh, I don't even think I'm close to any towns here. I definitely don't want to cook a transmission. It's like a $4,000 transmission in these things. I know because I replaced one in the twin truck that I had before. I asked the guy that I bought it from about the transmission lines, and he said he had replaced them. It looks like that's where it's coming from. I know they're like prone to rubbing on the weld pad, but that's where it looks like it's coming from, I'm just saying. This thing is scorching hot now. Huh. Oh yeah, it's definitely leaking from there. At least that's what it looks like anyways. I wonder if that line just backed itself out. I'm gonna have to take a better look at that. Alright guys, so I crawled underneath there and it looks like the fitting for where the line goes into the transmission is leaking. That's what it seems like to me. So I hobbled it because I couldn't do anything about it. I was lucky I was only 3 miles from a Love's. So I hobbled it to Love's. I got like 8 or 9 quarts of transmission fluid, and then I started looking around and I found a shop that's about 9 miles away here. So I put like 5 quarts in it just to make sure it's got enough. And I'm gonna just hobble it over there and hopefully they could fix it. I called the guy, he said he could get me in here. Ooh. You can see behind me there, it's leaking real bad. Not sure if it's going to make it or not here. Seems like it got worse. It wasn't even hardly leaking when I stopped at the Love's. Man, got a ways to go yet too here, so figure this out. Well, here we are, stranded again. I stopped and added some fluid, but it wasn't enough to get here. I felt it start to like almost shift out of gear there, so I got out of the way. So, waiting for a tow truck now. All right, guys, so Madison Automotive here. I'm in, let me see what town. So yeah, I'm in Madison, Florida here. So that's where I ended up getting towed to. And they got me in right away here. I got super lucky here because I dumped a whole bunch of fluid in it before I left. And then I think I added like, I don't even know however much, but it was lots. So I don't know how I got so lucky to just be that close like that, but I was like 9 miles away and I barely made it. They actually had to tow me the last probably half a mile here. So it ended up being the fitting going into the transmission. I don't know if the clip was broken or if it never had one and it finally just blew out or whatever, but for some reason the clip was broken there, and that's all it was. So I think they put a new clip in it. Let's take a look here. I'll look at the receipt. But yeah, no, looks like, yeah, a couple little parts there. It looks like transmission fluid and a couple parts. So I'm assuming they put a new fitting in it there. I didn't even ask them, but they got me in like right away as soon as I got here. And I might have found somebody to swap my engine. It's quite a ways from home here, but I'm thinking about changing the engine in that other truck, and they said they would need a week to do it, or they would bump it up if I paid them ahead of time to make sure, because a lot of people obviously are just like, hey, I'll do this and then I'll pay some or whatever. We're not like that. So anyways, like I said, got super lucky. Huge appreciation to this Madison Automotive for getting me in so quick like this. It's been a rough month here of breakdowns and issues and things like that, so I'm glad I didn't hurt the transmission. I'll drive it and make sure everything's good, but it looks like he drove it around. They actually hooked up the trailer for me and everything again, and should be ready to go. So I'll give it a once over here, and then guess I should do that before I get going, make sure it's all hooked back up properly and everything there. But yeah, so I might actually be back here. These guys seem like they're super nice and they got me in quick here, so appreciate that. So huge shout out to those guys. Thanks again, and hopefully I can get home with no drama now. All right guys, so this last debacle, I got lucky here. It ended up being that the fitting in the transmission had blown right out actually by the time I got to where I was going. That's why in the video there you saw that smoke in the background there. So I'm still in Florida. A couple of vehicles I'd like to check out while I'm here, but trying to figure that out. Had a couple hiccups there, so yeah, that's kind of what's going on. So I just went for a little morning walk before it gets too hot, and yeah, that's about it for now. All right, guys, so got my truck figured out here or whatever, back on the road. So I'm in Florida here still, and you can see I'm pulling a skid steer behind me. This thing's heavy, so like between the trailer and that, it's probably about 15,000 pounds. And this truck's I'm going 65 right now, which is about all I really go when I'm on the highway like this or whatever. Towing typically just more for fuel economy. I mean, it's pulling at like about 1750, 1800 RPM or whatever. And you can see it's like not downshifting or anything. It'll downshift if you get into a hill or something like that, of course. But considering this thing has 355 gears, and I've heard that was like one of the biggest complaints with these trucks. And honestly, this thing's not running that great. I think once it's all running good and everything, and not like doesn't have that misfire rich running syndrome or whatever, I think it's pretty solid actually. So I don't know, transmission wise, like this is way heavier than I would typically, well, I guess whatever, but like it's heavier than I would prefer to haul generally anyways, but so pretty impressed that it'll pull that easily or whatever, you know. So yeah, so I was checking in, but like I said, I don't have a transmission temperature gauge or anything like that on this truck because it's so old. That kind of is a little bit of a downfall there. It's definitely super hot. There's a heat advisory here today. It's like almost getting closer to 100 here. And the humidity, I think when I checked, was like 70%, which is like when you add that to 100-degree weather there, it's pretty hot. I guess it's been pretty hot in Oklahoma too here, so I haven't been home for a few days or whatever. I've been down here looking at some different things and cars and things like that, but it hasn't panned out yet. So had the little truck trouble there, and yeah, I'm trying to get back on the road here and eventually actually get home. So, but I just wanted to check in and show you guys. Like you said, it's pretty impressive. I rolled it over 160,000 miles now, so that probably 5,000 miles since I went picked up the camper and picked up the truck and got back home and came back down here and all that stuff. So I'm kind of, I mean, so obviously other than some little hiccups here and there, which is going to be with a truck that sat around like that for a while. That I mean, this truck's had sat for over a year, so. But it does have 4 new back tires on it. It does have a couple of good things or whatever about it. So, but I'll make a totally separate video about that. But I just wanted to kind of touch base, and it was getting about. I don't know. It's funny. It's super sensitive to. It must be RPM or something, because if you go 75 empty, like just with the trailer empty there, it was getting about around 8. But if you slow down and you drive to like 70 or even 65, like it'll get 12. It'll get 12 at like 65, 10 at like 70, somewhere in that ballpark there. So, and again, it's not running perfect here. So I think there's some gains to be had. I don't have my camper on it like I typically would or whatever, so that would probably affect the fuel mileage some too, but it doesn't seem like greatly affected by that stuff. It has been fairly calm down here, and these highways are pretty good and flat and things like that, so this is going to be pretty decent economy anyways compared to other places, but I definitely like traveling around here. It's pretty nice. They have really well maintained highways, and just I don't know, it's just nice cruises out here. So I just want to check in. Like I said, everything seems okay. I'm glad I didn't hurt the transmission when that happened or whatever. So I just wanted to show you guys what was going on when that was happening there. It was kind of pretty sketchy, because for 100 miles east of there, I was in the middle of nowhere. I don't think there was any mechanics around, so I got super extremely lucky, and I didn't hurt their transmission. So, well, if you guys haven't guessed yet, the hood is up because it stalled out, and I just happened to coast into this beautiful rest stop where it's scorching hot again. Not exactly sure what's going on. I went and used the washroom before I decided to do anything over here, so I checked everything this morning. It hasn't used a drop of oil since I bought it. I don't know, it was weird. I was just driving and had the cruise set, and it just totally quit, so I'm gonna see if it'll fire back up here, but hopefully nothing serious. I'm about an hour farther than the last place I broke down at, so we'll see here. That was extremely weird. It like just came to a complete dead stop on the highway, and it fired right back up. I wonder if there's something weird, like the fuel pump's starting to get weak or something like that. It's running the same as it did before. I don't know. Super weird. I guess I'll drive it a little bit and see if I can. Oh, there it's chugging a little. I don't want to get too far in the interstate here and then break down the interstate, at least on the rest stop right now. Maybe I'll do a couple laps around the rest stop first. I looked underneath, there's no oil or anything leaking. You can hear it loading down there. Out there, just going to a stop. Huh. Alright, so I tried to restart it and it won't restart now, so I'm going to let it cool off and just see if maybe something's going on here with that, but yeah, I don't know, something said maybe it's the fuel pump starting to calf out or something from this thing sitting around or whatever. Weird all this stuff took so long to show up there. I think I've put like 6,000 miles on it already, so I'm going to bang the fuel tank once on the bottom there, because sometimes if it's starting to quit, that'll help. So I don't know, it's weird. It's like I can't hear the fuel pump or anything running, so not sure what the deal is there why it's like that, but I think I'm gonna let it cool off. I don't want to run the battery down because I don't have a booster with me or anything like that, so I'll let it cool off a little bit and I'll try to start it again and see if that helps anything. All right, so it's smoking hot outside, like so freaking humid. It's like 96 degrees right now. I don't really want to drive too much farther if I think I'm gonna have issues, but it didn't start last time, but I banged the tank with a block of wood there, and there was a guy around here and he listened and he said he can hear the fuel pump. So if it doesn't start now, then I'll know it's something else, but some maybe ignition problem or something like that. So I don't know anything about these trucks, so give her a whirl here and we'll see if it starts up. I can't personally hear the thing, but he stood out by the tire and he said you could hear it, so let's see if it starts. Maybe I will have gotten lucky. And so if you're ever in a bind and your fuel pump you think is quitting, if you can't hear it, Chevys were really bad for this. I mean, anything with higher miles, or this one sat around for, like I said, almost a year there. So the best thing to do is just try to bang them, and if you can hear it, you can usually hobble it to somewhere to get rescued or whatever, but it doesn't help in the heat like this either, so I'm kind of nervous to drive it. I'd almost rather drive it when it's a little bit later since it's cooler, but then I run into the problem if I break down, it's freaking late and dark and stuck on the side of the highway and all that stuff, so not too sure what to think here. I'm gonna let it run a little bit again and we'll see if it stays running or not. It only ran for a couple minutes last time, but kind of thinking that's what the problem is though. Like I said, I beat on the bottom of the tank there or whatever, but I just have to pay closer attention to what's going on with there if it starts to run weird or whatever. It was weird because it was a little bit before that, and I haven't pulled anything this heavy with it yet, but I know, like I said, it's been kind of misfiring and stuff, so it when it was like loading up a little bit, like when it downshifted in the hills, it was kind of just like a tiny bit of a surge, and I thought, huh, that's weird, but I thought it was because of like almost like the misfire thing, because it needs a tune-up, right? So maybe that was something to do with it there, so I don't know. I guess I will try to drive it around the parking lot here, and if it's okay, then I might get back on the road again.
Way down yonder on a Chattahoochee, it's hotter than a hoochie coochie.
Okay guys, so I got back on the road here. I don't have my earbuds in because I'm trying to listen to the truck, but I drove it about another 20 miles and it stalled out again. And I got underneath there and banged on the tank. Then I started thinking I should like look and see if I can even see like the fuel lines or whatever. Maybe there's something there or whatever. And so I looked at the top of the tank. I can actually sit up underneath there. There's so much room. There's probably this much space from the top of the tank to the top of the fuel pump, and it's been replaced. It actually, as a matter of fact, it has a brand new fuel line going to it as well. So I don't know if this was a existing issue and it's just pumping up again. Maybe, I mean, honestly, all these aftermarket parts these days are Chinese, so could be just that. Like, I don't know. I even saw somebody posting the other day, like they bought GM parts or whatever, and they said they were stamped China, and I said, well, I wonder if you buy it from GM, for example, if it's from China too. And somebody else posted a picture. They're like, yep, I just got this from GM, and it's the same thing. It's stamped made in China. So I don't even think going around the aftermarket parts route is really any better these days. Like, it doesn't seem like anyway. So I don't know. Not sure there if that's the case or whatever, but so I'm going to drive some more here. I'm going to stop and get fuel in about 15 miles here, and then I'll decide what I'm going to do from there. I'm going to be in a fairly small town there, I believe, but I would like to just go, and that's what you can see. Like, I'm pulling this skid steer behind me, and I'm always pulling something, right? I always have trucks, cars, whatever. You guys see me on my channel, always buying cars and buying things I don't need, buying whatever. I buy pools, I buy freaking everything, right? So I always have something on the trailer, and the problem with that is, like, in the past I had a gooseneck trailer, and so as a matter of fact, the very first time this kind of turned into a problem for me, I had just sold my gooseneck and I had this same exact truck except a diesel version of it. same color and everything. It was a 98 Dodge Cummins there, 3500 dually like this. And so the problem with that was with the gooseneck, when you break down, towing companies won't tow you with the gooseneck. It was actually very strange because the first time that I saw somebody actually pull me without like disconnecting from the trailer was when we were in St. Louis, and he's like, yeah, nobody here unhooks to tow you. He's like, he said, why would they unhook? So he just basically lifted up the front tires on the truck. He took off the drive shaft, and that was it, which to me made way more sense. I was like, well, what's the problem? Whereas other guys have brought a flat deck, they winched me up on the flat deck, played this whole game, unhooked the trailer, right? And so unless you're a state that isn't allowed to tow like that for some reason, which it doesn't seem like most states are, I don't know why you would do that either. So, but I was just touting about how good this thing has been. And of course, then it starts giving hiccups. But like I said, the fuel pump's already been changed. So, you know, unless it's something like spark related, but it's so loud outside when you stop, like even at the rest stop, it's so loud, people coming in and out of there. I can't hear it myself. Like if I was laying underneath there right beside it and somebody could turn the key for me, I could probably actually hear it, but I don't have anybody with me to do that. So, but it's weird because when I run to the back, I quickly turn the key on, I run to the back, and I don't hear it like really loud, but I know these older fuel pumps didn't tend to be as loud in some of these vehicles for some reason or another. So I don't know. It started and ran, so it's obviously working, but unless it's just weak. So I might actually ask the previous owner because I think he's had the truck forever. I don't know if he bought a new, but it sounds like he's had it a while. So I might just ask him if he knows when that fuel pump was replaced. But it could be, like I say, just sitting around too, you know, and it sits around for over a year like that. And it might even been longer. He thought for sure a year anyway. So, you know, if it sat around that long, it could just be something as simple as that fuel pump, you know, stuck or whatever. But it's weird that I put like 5,000 miles on it with no problems, and all of a sudden it started showing up out of the blue. So praying that I make it to where I'm going here. If I can just make it to like Mobile, Alabama area, that's kind of where I'm headed to, and then I probably take it to a shop and see if they can diagnose it. I have all these parts ordered at home. I haven't been home since I ordered them, but I bought spark plugs and wires and air filter and a couple things like that. And the only other thing I could think of would be like injectors and like ignition coil. I'm pretty sure it's the original ignition coils, but I know the aftermarket ones are terrible now. So I'm like almost scared to change it. I guess I could take the old one with me and have it with me just in case it ever did quit or something. But yeah, so like I say, I'm going to try to make some more miles here and stuff. I do have a generator with me. I have an air conditioner. I always have lots of water and things like that. When I stop for fuel, I'll get some food and things like that. I'll make sure my fuel's all full and everything again here. And then at least I know I'm good or whatever, because this generator will run for 3 or 4 days on the amount of fuel that I have running this little air conditioner. And I just shove it in the back window there. The only downfall to this truck is it doesn't have tinted windows. If it did, it probably wouldn't even get hot. But that air conditioning will freeze you out at night. So I actually woke up cold last night when I was sleeping here. So I normally have a camper on the back, but I don't this time. So yeah. Anyways, that's what's happening there. I thought that would be the end of the video before, but apparently I was incorrect. Morning, guys. So I stopped at AutoZone here. They're the only people in town that have a fuel pump for this thing. So this truck has 2 coils in it. You can kind of see behind me here if you look at it. It's got actually 2 sets of coils, so I thought that might possibly be it, but then when I realized it's 2 coils, the chance of 2 sets of coils quitting is pretty slim. So I got a fuel pressure tester from them. They just let me borrow it since I'm just in the parking lot here. They do rent them anyways, but you usually have to put like $150 deposit down. I'll show you what this is about here. Okay, so this one's a whole kit with like a voltmeter. You can see the it's never been out of the kit, whatever you call it there. And then it comes with this, and there's just a Schrader valve on these trucks. So you just take the cap off here, and then you can put it on there and see what the pressure is at there. I don't know exactly what the right spec for this truck is, but it seems like about 50 is kind of about where it should be from what I watched in videos. People that had like 40 were having starting issues and stuff, but I don't know why it's quitting while you're driving. That doesn't make sense unless the actual screen, because the only filter on this truck is at the bottom of the fuel like pump basically, so there's a possibility that's an issue. But so I'm gonna put this thing on there, I'll start the truck up and we'll see where it's at. I'll try to just lay it on the windshield so I can actually see it here. Okay, I sort of missed that when I turned the key forward there, but you can see it's only at 20 PSI. We'll see what happens when it starts, but now it's at about 42. So that means all right, let's give it a start here. So it is at about right around 50. You guys can see that or not. Which isn't really out of spec, honestly. Let's see when we rev it what happens. Staying pretty consistent there. I'll let it run a few minutes here. One of the biggest problems trying to determine what's actually going on here is that, like, it's obviously not happening right this second. Like if I had been driving it and it stalled and then I checked this, maybe it would be low, but I mean, it's right at spec there. Like, just sorry, it's hard to see there, but it's sitting right at 50 and it's not even bouncing. So that's honestly what I thought the smoking gun would have been. I actually have a fuel pressure tester at home. I wish I had it with me because which I've actually only ever used it one time, but obviously I'd have to buy this one because I'd have to take it with me if I was going to try to drive somewhere. They're like $150 and I'll probably again never use it again after this. So I don't know, it's staying pretty steady though, 50 pounds. So I thought for sure that would have been the problem. Now I don't know what else it could be. Something electrical. I don't know why when I bang on the fuel pump or the fuel tank, it seems like it starts right back up. Or if I let it cool off, the same thing. The problem is I have to drive it for like yesterday I probably drove it even after it was smoking hot and I let it cool off. It still didn't cool off that much. I mean, I still drove it probably another 30 miles before it quit again. I guess I could rent this tester and go drive it around a little bit, but I don't want to get stranded somewhere and then have to get towed back to something stupid like this. Interesting. You can hear it's got a misfire, but I think that's just, like I said, I just assuming, but like it seems like it just needs a tune-up. So I didn't put fuel in it yesterday because it's at like less than a quarter tank, and I figured I don't want to put 35 gallons of fuel in it if we end up having to pull the fuel tank out of it or something, but not sure what to think here. There's a mobile mechanic I called last night and he said he could come over this morning at about 10 o'clock, but I figured I'd try to determine some of these issues myself before I actually did anything here or whatever. And I said chances of it being a coil could get hot when it's quit when it gets hot, but I don't know if it would still, because one is 6 of the plugs and one is 4 of the plugs. So if the 6th one was to quit, for example, would it run on 4? Probably not, I guess. So it's a possibility, I suppose. But like, so I opened the passenger door last night and I had the truck running, and man, like when you open up the door, like kind of, I don't know if you can kind of see, but like, see if I can feel it here, but like with the hood down and that, just the air that pushes out the front there, like the engine doesn't even come anywhere near being hot, but the engine bay obviously gets pretty cooking. I mean, you gotta think too, like yesterday it was like high 90s, so anything that would be normally hot is already like amplifying that problem. So I mean, I could take a flyer and just try to drive it again, but the problem is I'm so far from anything. If I get on the highway, I don't really want to get stranded in the middle of nowhere, especially towing a skid steer on my trailer. So I don't know what to do here unless I just rent this thing, drive it around town for a while and see if it'll do it when it gets warm. But like, it's early in the day yet, so it might not get warm enough today to even do it. It's like, maybe that's some of the thing. I don't know, fuel pressure's staying totally steady there, so I'm not sure exactly. You'd think it would be down some. Like, I mean, it's at 50 pounds. If the filter was plugged or something like that, you wouldn't think there would even be that. And it's holding steady. It's not even bouncing the needle at all. It's right at, yeah, it's right at 50 on the money, which is exactly what spec would be. I don't know. Interesting. Well, I guess I'll let it idle a little bit here, but like I said, I don't think it's going to do it while it's just sitting here. I think it's going to have to be driven and warmed up. So, we'll get back to this, I guess. Okay, so you can see after I shut it off, it's bleeding down, and I don't think it's supposed to bleed down that much. I'll have to do a little bit of research there, but maybe like the pressure relief valve or something like that is acting up. I believe that's in the pump on these, so there is a possibility it's that. I think it's supposed to hold around 40 if I remember right. I wonder if it's actually going to go right to 0. There's a possibility it's just bleeding off extra fuel or something like that and not getting it all to the engine, and that's why it's quitting, but I don't know why it wouldn't just restart right back up when that happens. Definitely still creeping down here. Huh. Yeah, it's just not, I'm just not familiar with these trucks, or really just like specs and things like that on what's supposed to happen here, but it shouldn't be bleeding down. It should be holding pressure. That's when it bleeds back like that, that's typically when you have like a hard starting issue or whatever, because then it has to prime the system every time you start it, right? So it actually looks like it's going to go to 0 here, which is not ideal. That means that fuel pressure regulator or whatever is bad. I'm pretty sure it's in the pump on this truck, I believe. All right, guys, so I actually made it probably about another 300 miles today, or a couple hundred miles anyways, I guess. I did some diagnosing this morning there. I checked the fuel pressure. I actually called the guy that I bought the truck from to see if he thought there was anything going on, that maybe I was looking in the wrong place. They always had a rough idle issue, which I'm assuming he said the fuel pump quit, and maybe they thought at the time that would have fixed that, but it didn't. But I don't believe these trucks have a throttle position sensor. There's some other sort of circuit in there that sometimes can get like gummed up too, but it's rich on the highway. So, but that's a totally irrelevant thing. So I ran the fuel pressure, saw that was all within spec and everything. So I thought, well, okay, that rules that smoking, because I thought for sure that would have been the problem. And then I started thinking, when I had the door of the truck open last night on the passenger side and it was running, it was just like raging heat from the side there. And after a little bit of research, sure enough, they put the ECM or PCM or whatever it's called on these trucks right in front of the passenger side glove box, I guess, something inside of under the hood. And these things just hold a crazy amount of heat, especially down. Like yesterday when I was driving, when this was all happening, it's like almost 100 degrees outside. And I think that's sometimes what people don't realize that vehicles too, like whether it's new or used or whatever, extreme heat. That's why you see vehicles that are like in Vegas, for example, and in 5 years they're worn right out, right? Because they just can't handle the heat so much like that. People don't maintain them to the same standard they should, like maybe more regular oil changes and stuff, but extreme heat is like hard on things. So just imagine the temperature of the under hood temperature, and that's probably why every time I would stop, I would open the hood to let it go off a little bit, and I go bang on the tank, thinking that it was the tank that was the issue, but probably in reality it was that, because today it was cooler, it was kind of overcast, and then it actually poured rain the bulk of the way there. And I'm also pulling, this machine is super heavy too, so it's making making it, like, it wasn't up in temperature, but it's definitely going to make more underhood heat just from the exhaust and things like that. So, so I think just the combination of like the high temperature, not exhausting very good out the under the hood, and that's the kind of the design of that and everything. And then, all that probably just compounded to be the, like I said, the PCM is acting up or whatever. So, and when I Googled it, that seems to be a common problem. And when that happens, even though this is an OBD1 truck, that is kind of a surefire sign if there's no check engine lights or anything like that, that's probably what's going on. So it doesn't look like it's super easy to get one. Some people have tried them from like Amazon and different places like that, but so I don't know. It's just, I don't know if I should just buy one and try to replace it. There's some, I think AutoZone had remanufactured ones there. And then I could probably get like a like an actual like aftermarket one or whatever. They're not that expensive, like a couple $100. So I could buy it and put it in, or I could, maybe I could buy it and put it in and then keep this one for a spare or something, I suppose. But it seems like that's what the issue was. Like I said, the fuel pressure is normal and everything like that. And today, like I said, it poured rain the whole way, and it never did it once for those few hundred miles. So that tells me it's a heat related issue, and that probably narrows it down to that. So I don't know if I should just wait until I get home and deal with it now. I think once I unload the skid steer here, it'll probably be fine. Or maybe forever again until it's like super hot. Some similar situation, but it was probably not a normal situation. Like I said, it was super humid yesterday and just raging hot. The asphalt's hot and everything else. So like you get, I think it was like 97 or 98 degrees yesterday. So you get compound that with like having like like the ground temperature and exhaust temperatures and stuff. I like I said, it would be interesting to see, but I know I touched the inner wheel well just to see when I opened the hood there. And I mean, it would like burn your hands. It was a lot. So, and that's like way away from the actual PCM or whatever. So anyway, so I think that's probably what was going on there. So I don't think I shouldn't say this. I've been saying this lots of the last month, but I don't think there's going to be any more real problems with that as far as, I mean, like I said, I might just end up changing it anyways because I don't want to get stranded because of it, but the signs all point, and that's what's probably going on. So thanks for watching again, guys. It's been quite the month of struggles here or whatever, and sometimes I get the gears about not buying a newer vehicle or whatever, and a lot of times I kind of do this for my YouTube channel too. Just sometimes got to have a little struggle or whatever, and this is kind of what it is. I mean, I grew up and I lived my whole life like this until more recent years or whatever, and I like the fact of not having loan payments and vehicle payments and all that kind of stuff. So I might just keep buying older vehicles and just fixing them as they need them or whatever need to be fixed, and keep on the maintenance and whatever. Like this truck only has 160,000 miles on it now, so that there's could be a lot of life left in this thing yet. So I mean, I could probably put $7,000-8,000 into it and still be in a pretty good position as far as the truck goes. And once I'm done with it, it would just be disposable, basically, like at that price. So I don't know. It does need some things that are kind of annoying though, like a window tint for sure. Just passing a tint shop it reminded me, but window tint. The AC might be a little low on Freon still, just because I just topped it up just a bit until it worked, but it seems like it's not base ice cold. That could be something as simple as there being like a little bit of moisture in the system, but I don't think so because it wasn't totally empty when I filled it. It was like I only put like I think half a can in it, so it was like just enough to get it going. I don't want to go too high because if you put too much in it, sometimes it starts blowing lines, especially if they're older lines, things like that. So the previous owner did say that, which I had seen, the air conditioning wasn't working for them, so they put a new fan clutch in it too. And then he saw I had that issue with the transmission there that was blew the line out, and he actually said he had the exact same issue, but it just happened to happen at his house. He actually replaced the lines because of that. So another weird situation that didn't happen. And he said that actually happened to the fuel line on this truck as well. So that's something I need to watch out for. But yeah, other than that, I don't know. Still not really have to drive this truck and everything where I'm sitting here. There's no power seats or anything, so it's not as adjustable, which I don't really love either. But it's okay. It's decently comfortable, but where I naturally have my arm right now, I have my elbows on the armrest on the door, and it's a super weird angle for me, so my shoulder starts getting sore all the time. I know when I've been to the chiropractor in the past, they've said like the bone and the muscle are almost touching, and that's from being in that position all the time or whatever. So I have to really watch that and remind myself to try to grab the steering wheel in other places sometimes, but it's just a habit because it's comfortable. So yeah. So other than that, that's kind of it. So like I said, if something happens, I'll throw the camera back on there. But I think for now, this video's probably going to be done. I appreciate you guys all watching. It's growing at a pretty steady rate here. Going to continue to try to put out Monday, Tuesday videos as much as I can. If I ever have a situation where I can't, I guess. But I try to do it every week, Monday and Tuesday videos. So, like I said, I appreciate you guys watching along and seeing what else is going on here. So, make sure you like, subscribe, share me around on social media, TK's Garage 405 on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching again.